Please note that this meeting is live streamed. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? None. We have a public hearing.
So a public meeting is being held for the purpose to receive comments on amendments to the vacancy rebate and vacant excess land subclasses as follows. One, the vacancy rebate for 2017 will be 15% for vacant commercial and industrial space. The rebate for 2018 and thereafter will be nil. The vacant and excess land property tax subclasses discount factor is 15% for commercial and or industrial for 2017 with no reduction factor in 2018 and thereafter.
Okay, is there anyone here who wants to speak to this? None. All right, delegations, there are none. Question period. None. I want to, before we get started on the consent agenda, I want to go over procedural bylaw, Article 9, concerning presiding officer. And it states in the procedural bylaw that the presiding officer shall be. And I have been remiss in maintaining order, and I apologize for this. And this is going to be my effort to make sure that I pay attention to what is going on. The presiding officer shall preside over the conduct of the meeting, including the preservation of good order and decorum, ruling on points of order and points of privilege, and deciding all questions relating to the orderly procedure of the meeting. The ruling is subject to an appeal by any member of council. The presiding officer shall restrain the members within the rules of order when engaged in debate. The presiding officer shall enforce on all occasions the observance of order and decorum among the members. The presiding officer shall call by name any member persisting in breach of the rules of order of the council, thereby ordering him to vacate the council chamber. What I'm looking for with reading those off is that we have order, that we have decorum, that we have proper functioning without people getting angry, without people waving their hand at anybody and doing all these things out of lack of respect. I think respect is one of the prime things that we must do for each other. We have to respect each other. That's a must. Article 10 is the conduct of members. No member shall use indecent or insulting language in or against the council or any member thereof. And then again, that falls to respect for each member. And that's required, as I mentioned before. Respect for staff as well, on and off the job. Article 10.2, speak on any subject other than the subject in debate. And also, we're not going to keep talking about something and going over and over and over the same thing. I find that a real hindrance to the meeting. Article 10.2, no member shall disobey the rules of council or decision of the presiding officer or of the council on questions of order or practice or the interpretation of the rules of the council. Article 10.25, when a member persists in any such disobedience of the aforesaid rules, after having been called to order by the presiding officer may forthwith put the question with no amendment, adjournment, or debate being allowed, that such member be ordered to leave his seat for the duration of the meeting of the council. If the member apologizes, he may, by vote of the council be permitted to retake this seat. I didn't leave room for any questions or comments. If there's any questions or comments, you can see me in my office downstairs, and we will deal with your questions. Now on to the consent agenda. I'm sorry.
Moved by Councilor Ron Duxley, second by Councilor Ray Forby, resolved that items A1 to F2 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted.
Okay. Questions or comments? Under the A section. Questions or comments? None. Under the B section. Questions or comments? None. There are no matters arising from the in-camera session and no business arising from board and committees. And the following bylaws will be read and passed. Any comment or questions on the F section? E section, I'm sorry. None. And then the F section as well? None. All in favor? Carried.
To the regular agenda, item G1, moved by Councilor Mickenham, second by Councilor Ron Ducey, be it resolved that the vacancy rebate and vacant excess land subclasses are hereby amended as follows. 1, the vacancy rebate for 2017 will be 15% for vacant commercial and industrial space. The rebate for 2018 and thereafter will be nil. 2, the vacant and excess land property tax subclasses discount factor is 15% for commercial and/or industrial for 2017, with no reduction factor in 2018 and thereafter.
Questions or comments? Councilor Ron.
I'm sorry that we didn't see anyone here tonight at the public hearing for this, Your Worship, because I don't know about the rest of you, but I had a few phone calls on the subject, and it was disappointing to get phone calls and not have a follow-up here. I'm not sure how I interpret that exactly, but it was disappointing to me. Now, I must say at the previous meeting, I think is when it was brought up, to get this by on whatever, I didn't understand the vacant land part, and that's my own problem with this. I just kept thinking of buildings and saying, well, maybe they could utilize it for different purposes. Land, I'm not sure. Does that stop people from speculating and coming into our community and buying land with the intention of doing something and maybe it not happening right away? Although then when I see the amount of rebate, it's not all that many. Now, maybe that's because some people weren't aware, I don't know. But it was disappointing not to hear from people here this evening.
I had people call me as well, and I kind of expected somebody to be here, but it didn't happen. Any other questions? Councilor Bill.
I'd like to point out that Ontario is the only Canadian province where commercial and industrial ratepayers are eligible for a vacant unit rebate, okay? And the province recently passed legislation to allow us to eliminate this rebate or adjust it. Many communities are taking advantage of this, and part of the rationale in Espanola at least is we're losing some revenue from some of the commercial areas and other areas, and we're trying to protect the average homeowner a little bit. The people who have been receiving this rebate generally have been paying a little less each year because the factor that was used to do that has been reduced, but it is what it is. It means that we're taking a little bit more from some of these people if we go ahead and vote for this.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Bob.
Yeah, I tend to agree with and I don't want to repeat what Councillor Foster said, that really we've seen the assessed values are decreasing, the tax rates are decreasing, and there is a suggestion that this only applies to 2 classes. It's not a big revenue thing, but it is unfair to be subsidized, that our residential taxpayers in the main are subsidizing this, and it's almost a form of double dipping anyway. So I think it's actually a very fair move that we're making, and it's certainly, as Councillor Foster said, most communities are looking at this, and there's nothing really negative going on. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Ray.
I don't know, I think there's something not entirely right about this. Like, it's almost a penalization towards our commercial property owners. If they're burdened already with the fact that they don't rent their property, and then we take as much money as we can from them, I think maybe we're doing them harm by doing that, and undue hardship, and I'm not entirely in favor of it.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Oh, I'd like a recorded vote, please.
Fine. Mayor on Beach 4. Ray Dufour.
No.
Ken Duplessis.
In favor?
Pardon?
In favor.
Yes. Ron Duplessis.
In favor?
Bill Foster.
In favor?
Stuart Mickelham.
For.
Bob Yocum.
4.
It's carried.
Item G2, moved by Councillor Ron Duplessis, seconded by Councillor Bill Foster. Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Espanola hereby appoints the Chairman and full clerk to the Hydro Steering Committee.
Questions or comments? Councillor Ron.
I was happy this gentleman put his name forward, Your Worship, and you were at that meeting as I was when that happened. And at that meeting that we were at, the hydro meeting, it was also brought forward that we would go and speak with the hydro people the following day to explain what was happening, so there was no misunderstanding, because there was some hard feelings on the streets. We went down there, him and I was really happy to hear this gentleman speak to this crew, because as most of us know, and maybe all of us, he has worked for Hydro for many, many years. He's retired now, in excess of 30 years. I know he started in '72 at the bottom and worked himself up to the general manager of Hydro. Very respectable man. And he spoke to the gentleman in the whole crew, as well as office staff. And he told him he had put his name forward to be on the steering committee. And he had told him right there, he says, I'm really interested. And he says, I will keep you apprised should I be fortunate enough to get on of all the operations and what's happening within the scope of what I'm allowed to say. So he said, anything that's privileged, I will not be bringing forward because I can't. But he said, I also want you to know that I will be unbiased, and I'm not going to pick one side over the other. I'm going to remain neutral. I'm going to look at all the stuff that's brought forward. And he said, in the end, I will be giving my opinion on what's best for the community of Espanola, not one side or the other. And I was really impressed with that and happy to hear that. And with that in mind, I would certainly only enforce the fact that I would be willing to support this individual. Thank you.
Councillor Bob.
Yes, Your Worship. I think, given the nature of this, I'd like to propose a motion that this be deferred for discussion to a closed meeting to be held at the end of tonight's regular council meeting, and then the vote be held.
I would second that motion.
All in favor? 1, 2, 3. I don't think that passes.
So then we need to vote on this
You got it.
resolution as it stands. So then we need to vote on this resolution as it stands.
So we do a recorded vote on that?
No.
If you
No.
want to, but-
Oh, no, we don't have to, okay. It's carried.
No,
No,
we have to-
nope, nope.
Not carried.
and I'd like to speak to the
Being
motion.
resolved that Council for the Town of Westmoreland hereby appoints the chairman of Holdco to the Hydro Steering Committee.
Your
Worship,
He has a,
I have questions, and
Okay?
in that case, since we're not going to go in camera, I'm not opposed to the appointment of him to the committee. He's probably got well, he will have, not probably, an excellent understanding of the industry, and we may, and we'll probably be able to incorporate some of his knowledge into the expression of interest that will be prepared for this. I know this is going to be highly, this could turn out to be, there'll be a lot of confidential information here. And I realize he's made the statement, and I actually know the man, and I trust him as well anyway, but it doesn't matter. He's made the statement, about keeping the staff informed, and I understand these people's jobs, they may think they're at stake. I've been through this kind of thing with the whole town, so I know where they're going, where they're coming from. Anyway, we have to walk and tread very carefully. There are, in fact, already 2 members of the board, at least. Did Massey appoint Mr. Gamble to the
My understanding is yes.
selection committee?
Yeah.
So is that 2 or 3 members of the 2 members of the Holdco board are already sitting on the committee now? So there's that to take into account. I wonder if there's another, and I can't see one. I wonder if there's another way to use the resources of Mr. Of the man. No? Because I'm not opposed to him being there. I think we have to recognize that there'll be, and I think he does recognize there'll be confidential issues in that we just can't talk about to as much as the staff at Hydro will be concerned. That's about it. Thank you.
Councilor Ron?
just to reiterate a little more, Your Worship, I think I saw something from our clerk come out through an email, which I'm sure we all got, that should this gentleman be appointed to this committee, certainly would have no vote in what this council or the council of Salt Spanish River decide to do. He would just be a resource in that process and very knowledgeable of the operation and the workings both ways, with consultants and whoever we have. Also, I think where he would be given code of conduct and told what he could and couldn't say, just as much so as we are. And every one of us could break that, but hopefully, human nature being what it is, and we understand the responsibilities of those positions, we would hold to that. And I really believe he would.
I have a problem, but it's not a biggie that I can't live with. But the idea that he worked for Hydro and is more than likely to be more supportive in the other direction than we want, that concerns me just a little. Councilor,
Your Worship, I can't agree with you on that at all. Well, what he's done in the past has no bearing on this type of steering committee. It really doesn't matter, and I don't see any connection between what he's done and where it's going.
okay. Councilor Stewart.
As former chair of the Hydro Board, I've worked with this man, and I have full trust and belief in his integrity, and I think he would be a good representation for this board.
Councilor Bill, you had something?
I guess no, nothing.
Okay, I didn't say I had to live by it, I just said it was a concern of mine. And, okay, so then we vote on it now?
Yes.
All in favor? Carried.
Item G3, moved by Councilor Mickelham, seconded by Councilor Foster. Be resolved that 1, a tabulation system be used for counting ballots in the 2018 municipal elections. 2, vote by mail alternative voting method be used in the 2018 municipal election. And 3, a bylaw to authorize the method and procedures for vote by mail and tabulators for counting the ballots in the 2018 municipal elections be prepared.
Questions or comments? Councilor Ray.
I just had one. There was a number 4 attached to that somewhere, wasn't there? I seen something on it that it was internet and,
That was
and
information.
phone, I believe.
Those, yeah, those
Oh,
are the
okay.
options.
Well, that looked like a good way. I'm just saying. No, I'm good. I'm fine.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wondered whether,
all right.
why they withdraw
Councilor
it.
Ron?
This is virtually the same as we had the last time. And I know when I read that, I think it was Oracle that did the poll, there was a couple of confusing things. They asked people which they like, this way or the old going to the polling stations. And I think the majority was going to the polling stations. Then there was another question a little bit further on where it asked if they liked this system, and the numbers were kind of reversed. So with that in mind, I'm going to support this.
Councilor Bill.
We had our highest turnout in voting there in many years, okay, so I think we should just repeat it again and see how well it does.
Yes, I find too that it's a little too early to talk to people and help them to try another way.
Yeah,
You know,
we just tried
stick
this.
with the older one. Any other questions? Councilor Bob.
Yeah, I'm actually in favor of just the status quo. I did have a question for Paula, because you went to these courses. I was looking through other places, and there seems to be some, in this regards, internet voting, which I know we're not considering, but just thought I'd ask the question anyway. There seems to be some concern that in some places that it's possible that malware from a voter's computer could transfer over to the server's computer, whatever you call it, of the system. Can that really happen? And I know we're not doing it, I just was curious now.
My understanding from, we had presentations from 2 of the providers of the internet. And telephone is the, as much as can possibly done for security purposes and so forth, is done. And there hasn't been any of those
Oh,
issues in the
okay.
past.
I saw a couple of communities that seemed to be, but they couldn't find any more information. Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Carried.
Item G4, moved by Councilor Foster, second by Councilor Michelman. Be it resolved that as recommended by the Joint Health and Safety Committee, that the revisions to policy H04-01645 respecting the workplace harassment and violence reflecting Bill 132 be adopted.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
Item G5, moved by Council Michelman, second by Council Campbell. Be it resolved that as recommended by the Joint Health and Safety Committee, that council approve a recognition award budget of $15 per employee for the 49 employees of the 3 departments that achieved 0 recordable injuries in 2016, which include the library, fire, and administration departments.
Questions or comments? Councilor Ron?
I always have a hard time with safety awards. Not that I think our people aren't deserving. Sometimes on one hand, it looks like we're buying safety to keep people from reporting incidents. But then when you look at the savings in premiums and the reduction in claims, it's certainly nice. Then you look at the various departments, and we've all went, or not all, some of us went through that, where one department works in a lot more hazardous conditions and another. So that the poor guy that works where there's a lot more risk never gets to achieve an award because he can't reach that milestone, while another in a less serious situation, it's less difficult. With that in mind, I'm still going to support this, Your Worship, but I always have misgivings because it looks like we're buying safety. And it's unfair in some cases.
Councilor Stewart?
Thank you. The quick math shows that we're discussing about $750. Where I find this valuable is with a promotion of health and safety is we save significant amount of money on premiums for insurance. So something like this, a small amount could this promotes health and safety, and we will in the end run save from people being hurt as well as insurance premiums.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Ray.
I'd like to read something that I took off the internet. It says here, being safe and secure is a natural state of mind. Avoiding harm is one of the things that humans do best. So when you celebrate another's milestone of safety, you give the impression that safety is not a natural state of things. They're supposed to be safe. That's what you hire them to do. Work well and safely. Don't make safety unnatural. If you wish to reward safe practice, perhaps a board could be put up with so many days of, like this part that I just read, they believe it's unnatural to reward safety, okay? And I understand this. I think it's a good thing, but I'm just saying, if that's what we're doing, rewarding safety, are we maybe thinking if we don't do it, are they gonna still stay safe, you know? I don't think it should be a rewardable thing. I think we strive for that every day in our everyday business, to stay safe at home and at work.
Well, I do believe they do. Like, I think the people that are working strive for safety, not thinking actually about getting a $15 thing at the end of the year or whatever. But I think it's profitable to recognize, just to recognize the factor that they did do something to create safety around them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for it as far as that goes. Anyone else? All in favor? Carried.
Item G6, moved by Councilor Candidacy, seconded by Councilor McElhenney. Be it resolved that Council for the Town of Westmoreland hereby supports the resolution adopted by Council for the Municipality of East Ferris regarding changes to the building code B080903, requesting mandatory 5-year septic tank pump out and records retention.
Questions or comments? Councilor Ron.
You know, I think it's just another typical example of the province downloading on municipalities. And I mean, that's a big cost, especially, we have some in our municipality, but there are municipalities in some parts of this province that's the only way they function is on a septic system. And you can imagine the people going around checking and enforcing these things. I just think it's horrendous. I'm certainly going to support this.
Oh, yes. Anyone else? All in favor? Carried.
Item G7, moved by Councilor Bill Foster, seconded by Councilor Ken Dupussy. Be it resolved that whereas all Ontario Hydro customers are paying exorbitant delivery fees charged by Ontario Hydro, and whereas these delivery fees have left many families in all of Ontario to struggle with their financial commitments, and whereas the Premier announced Ontario's Fair Hydro Plan, in which Ontario Hydro will be waiving delivery fees for customers who reside on First Nations reserves and settlements in Ontario, and whereas if this was truly a fair hydro plan for Ontario, the province of Ontario would treat all Ontario Hydro customers equally and provide a common relief to all Ontarians who are burdened with the cost of hydro delivery fees. Now therefore be it resolved that Council for the Town of Westmoreland calls upon the province to ensure a fairness and equality to all Ontario Hydro customers through a truly fair hydro plan for Ontario. And further be it resolved that, in the interest of transparency, Ontario Hydro will explain to the municipalities which costing measures or alternative revenue sources will be put in place to replace the revenue losses it experiences from the elimination of the delivery charge to its customers. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to Premier Wynne, Minister Thibeault, and all municipalities in the province of Ontario for their support.
Questions or comments?
You know,
Councilor Ron.
that is so true what that statement says, and I know Councilor Bob brought this up at the last meeting when we discussed one on the Manitoulin, and I'm happy to see this one. And I'm sure if anybody's been on hydro, most people know, yourself now, your worship, that the local hydros of every municipality only operate on that delivery charge. The cost of electricity is just a flow through. What the province charges the local distribution company goes right back to the province for hydro. They operate completely on delivery charges, so if you take a portion of that delivery charge out, you gotta add it to the next guy. Now, what would happen in the province if they eliminated them all? We'd have to get an awful lot of funding. I don't think Kathleen Wynn's gonna give us that.
Oh,
Anyway, but I will certainly be supporting it, Your Worship.
okay. Anyone else? All in favor? Carried. All right. Convention, Wednesday, May the 10th, Friday, May the 12th. And by the way, this is open to all counselors. It's not specific. So that'll be going on in the first part of May. Mayor and councillor reports and announcements. Councillor Bond, you're first.
Oh, thank you, Your Worship. Sunday, I was at the ceremony to honor the Vimy Ridge soldiers. It was very well attended by residents, as these things always are. I have to comment, though, as the cadets were out in full force, and that every time I see them, I'm reminded what a great asset they are to the community. You see them all over the place. They do all sorts of stuff, from washing dishes to packing groceries and helping all kinds of people. Excellent group of young people. And tomorrow night, Ecole, oh boy, here we go, French. Tomorrow night, Ecole Secondaire Franco Quest, likely, will have their sleep out challenge at the Giant Tiger, and they're going to spend the evening in cardboard boxes. I hope it doesn't rain. But it's for a really good cause, to bring awareness for youth homelessness. It starts at 4 o'clock, and donations of perishable food goods, which will be passed on to the food bank, and or cash will be gladly accepted. And good luck to them.
Are you going to be there, Bob?
Probably.
Okay. Councillor Ray.
I have nothing, thank you.
Councillor Ron.
I also attended the Vimy Ridge, as well as Councillor Senior yourself, Your Worship, and I must say that your little speech up there was quite nice, and I think to the point of what's happening in the world today.
Yeah, thank you.
I was sorry to see we lost another individual on our library board. I hadn't been on the board with him, but I know this gentleman, and I would think personally I would hate to see him go, but he said he had personal reasons, and we have to respect those. I see our public works crews have been out street sweeping, and I mean, all the sand that's accumulated over the tremendous amount of snow and ice conditions over the winter. I know the residents are happy to see that, and I've had nothing but wonderful comments. Going to our hydrant, there was a power outage on the east side of the track over Friday night with that high wind, and our hydro people were out there early in the morning. Because of where the tree came down on the lines, they weren't able to get their equipment in, and I must say they walked through water 10 inches deep, back and forth. They had to climb the poles manually, put the lines back up. It took the lines right off the pole. It was quite a chore, but they were all there giving her. The only thing I have a question, I don't know if anybody else is wondering. We had a meeting back in, I believe, early December down at the fire hall, and we had asked some questions about things pertaining to that area where we're looking at this year, in the lines of the truck and equipment. And this has got to be 4 months. And I just wondered if we're ever going to get any reports back. I haven't seen anything yet. I thought in 4 months we'd have heard a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll leave that in your hands.
I can look into that.
Could you do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
I have nothing, sir.
Councillor Kent.
Just one item. There's a fundraising breakfast for one of the town's employees, Wade Pollard, on Sunday, April 23rd at the complex.
Okay.
The time, Ken, times?
I don't know.
8 a.m. to 12
noon.
noon.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
breakfast fundraiser.
Councillor Bill.
I don't have anything.
I too was at the Vimy Bridge remembrance, and I was impressed with the amount of people there, and I was impressed with the cadets as well, and the ones that were playing in the band there, and they did a wonderful job. And I think the whole thing was a really good remembrance of people that gave their lives sacrificially. And I learned when I was there that it wasn't all older guys that were killed in that war. There were 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and 18-year-olds in our troops. And that was a magnificent sacrifice for our freedom. Community Services meeting of April 18th at 4 p.m. Then there's a regular meeting of council April the 25th at 7:30 p.m. And be it resolved that the regular meeting of council is hereby adjourned. No?
Call the vote.
I can't adjourn it now?
Call the vote.
Oh. Closed.
No, call the vote.
Oh, all in favor? I'm doing all right up to there.
Forget your hearing aids.